Hey guys on YouTube, welcome. Can you hear us all right?
Hello, everyone.
There's a slight delay, so I'll make sure you guys can hear us on YouTube. Hey guys on YouTube, welcome. Can you hear us all right? I think we're good to go.
Yeah, it's quite a delay.
Good deal. Good deal. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining our first Ask Me Anything live broadcast on YouTube. So just real quick, we're going to go through the disclaimer, a couple of things about the community, and then it's all up to you guys. So Bearable Traders, employees, contractors, shareholders, affiliates, we're not an advisory service, a registered investment advisor, a broker-dealer. We do not advise clients on which securities should they buy or sell for themselves. So, anything we say in here is essentially our take on our thoughts on how we might trade or do something, and that's about it. So just real quick, the Bearable Traders community, Andrew started this a couple of years ago with Brian, and we've got traders all over the world. You'll see in a couple of minutes, but Andrew actually is in India meeting with some of our members right now. But you can see South Florida, Georgia, Austin, Texas. These are some of our members, which Andrew and I will be there in May. New York City, which we even had a bigger meetup than this not too long ago. San Diego, there's Brian and Peter and Andrew. That's my little monkey right there. And then Vancouver, home base of Bearable Traders. So like I said, many of us are in North America, but we've got a ton in Europe. We've got South America, Africa, every continent we got covered except for Antarctica, but I think that's because of an internet connection issue, for now at least. And then this is the whole team. You got Andrew, Brian, who you can see on Skype, and you'll see bigger in a moment. William, his trade recaps in the room. The last hour of the trading day on Tuesdays and Thursdays are amazing. Abiel does a lot of the social media stuff and a lot of support in the room. Robert, who if you've seen his rants, you got to love the guy. Ryan does a lot of the IT stuff. Peter, one of the moderators in the room as well and helps with a lot of things. Carlos and I do the pre-market show in the morning. So without further ado, I'm going to pop in here and get Brian rolling. And
Hey everyone. I hope everyone's having a good evening tonight. Glad everyone could join us here on YouTube. So I think Norm's covered off a lot of stuff here. Good kickoff, and was there anything else we wanted to talk about before we get launched here? To start taking some questions, maybe go over a little bit of the ground rules on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So. So we're just this is an Ask Me Anything. Almost we have
anything.
to qualify. Yeah, we have to qualify that. Almost anything. We can't help with your love life or how to fix your carburetor. But we'll take just about any questions here tonight on trading, stock trading. Talking about risk reward, whatever you guys want to talk about. We don't know how many questions we're going to get, so appreciate it if you didn't. If you can avoid it, please don't ask multiple questions. Give everyone a chance to ask some questions, and also I think it bears mentioning we're very apolitical. We don't want to get into any political debates or discussions on politics in any way. We're just here to talk about stocks, the stock market, and companies in general, and what the prospects are for profitable trades. So, Norm, did I miss anything? You want to cover off anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, a little bit of background on myself and Brian. Me quickly, I was in the television broadcast industry for 20 years and always loved to trade on the side as a hobby. And I found myself in a position to be able to do so full time almost a year ago exactly. It'll be about another week and a half. It'll be a year. So, I'm no guru. I'm part of the moderating team for Bear Bull Traders, and I kind of can give some insight what it's like to be a newish trader. And then Brian, who is the distinguished gentleman in the black shirt.
The Bear Bull trading shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, I've been trading for a long time. If any of you on here, and I'm sure there's a few people on tonight that have read my book, you'll know I've been trading for quite a long time. I traded through the .com boom and bust era, and been trading stocks and owning stocks for a long time. So, and obviously things have changed in the market a lot since I started. But as part of this community, and if you're going to be a trader, you have to be prepared to keep up with the trends and change. So.
All right.
And I see Norm's banging away on the keys, so...
I'm just trying to answer some easy questions there. So
okay.
So I guess we'll take the first question. Let's see. Anne is asking about trailing stops.
Okay. What did you do something in TV?
I did. I used to work in the television business. That's what I did for 20 years.
Okay.
My wife is actually still in it.
Okay, there you go.
But it's with Netflix. There's a reason Netflix stock is so high. Google with YouTube and everything else. People don't watch TV like they used to. So.
Yeah. So we had the first question about trailing stops.
Yep.
I guess you. Are you talking about, if you're talking about day trading, and that would be more of a day trading, maybe a day trading question, but you can use trailing stops. One of the things that you can do, like for example, there were a couple stocks today. Sometimes you'll get days where stocks will just continue higher, and stocks like Twitter, I think KSS was another one that just continued to go higher. So. You can use a stop, and the only time I really use a hard stop, I mean, this is me personally, the only time I really use a hard stop is if I'm in a position and I'm going to step away from my computer. So if I'd had a trade in on Twitter, if I'd have been long Twitter, I'd have either used a trailing stop or just a hard stop and gone off for breakfast. And, you come back later and you hope you're still in the position. The thing about a trailing stop that I've found, and I'll wrap up here, Norm, you can add whatever you want. The thing that I've found about a trailing stop is, it's always a debate about how tight do you want to put that stop, because if you put it too tight, you're probably going to get stopped out of it on a pullback. So, and if you put it too loose, it's you're going to end up maybe giving back a lot of profit. So there's always a bit of a trying to figure out exactly where that sweet spot is, and it could just depend on the day. So
that's been my experience too. I don't use trailing stops just because I find if it's going to make, let's just say I take a long position and I start out somewhere and I give it 40 cents or 30 cents and it goes up and it pulls that stop up along the way, I find I'd almost be better just closing the position where it was, because if it goes up 30, 40 cents, then it's going to come back down on a pullback. It's going to stop you out and you're going to be out of it. It's my experience. I haven't had a whole lot of use with them. So like Brian said, I don't use hard stops unless I get up and walk away. I use range orders a lot more often than anything else. If I need to leave the house, I'll set, a hard stop on that and where I want to sell on the long position hypothetically. And I found that a lot more useful than trailing stops.
Okay. So hopefully that answered that question. Do you want to move to the next one here, Norm?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Appreciate all the comments about how you're finding our group useful. I mean, as Andrew had mentioned in in a number of videos, the purpose of this group is really to teach people how to trade. You can come in the room and copy trades, but ultimately, our goal is to try to educate people to the point where they're making their own decisions on their own trades. with maybe some guidance and help looking for commitment or setups. So Jonathan said, do you guys use the commitment of traders? I'm not sure what that means. Do you know what that means, Norm?
Jonathan, Yim, can you clarify that one, and we'll come back to it?
Yeah, we'll come back to that one because I'm not really sure what that means. So Danny's asking,
insight on my trading results. I'll tell you. So like I said, I started trading full time. I traded as a hobby for a number of years. I'd say it was a good amount of it was swing trading. Some of it was day trading. It was probably 50-50. But, I was working, and my business had really slow times of the year where I'd be able to make a few trades. And then I might go 6 weeks or 6 months without trading and come back to it for a little bit. So I didn't have to trade. I didn't have to trade to make a living or anything else. When I first started trading full time, it was eye-opening. That's why I joined Bearable Traders, because I figured I'd read Andrew's book 2 years before that, roughly. And, to be able to make a profit every day. Andrew says, and you can attest to this, Brian, it's not difficult to make $100 in a trade. It's not difficult to make $1,000 in a trade, but to make $1 every day is the most difficult thing possible. And when you're a full-time trader, that's kind of what you have to do. So, I joined Bearable Traders, and I've grown immensely since then. I'd say it took 6 months till I really knew what I was doing, and then it's just gotten better and better and better since then. So, my goal is, if I can make $400 or $500 in a day, I'm thrilled. You're not going to win every day at this. So.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. You've got to. I mean, when you're starting out, you set yourself a goal. Maybe it's $100 a day. Maybe it's $50 a day. And as you start, as your trading sort of starts to mature, and you start to figure out what's going on and what works for you and what doesn't, you can probably move that goal up. But always being conscious of the fact that the more money you put at risk, the more, let's just say, emotions can be involved, and it can actually change your trading style, or how much risk you want to take. You might get scared out of trades more often, a profitable trade. So you have to be cognizant of the point where you're not feeling comfortable with the trade you're in, and so that's sort of the experience that you gain over the years, and you're able to scale up to a point where you feel comfortable. I've told a number of people, I don't take as large trades as Andrew does. My trades are smaller in size overall, but that's just me. And everybody has to find their own style and their own comfort level.
And I'll say that because you brought up a good point. When I first started on this journey, my goal was much smaller than it was, and I slowly built that. Because like you said, the more risk you bring into the situation, the more emotions, the more psychology and everything else, and you have to build upon that.
Yeah.
And I still, like I said, $400 or $500, I'm thrilled. If I go through a slump, or I have a drawdown or a bad week, or a few weeks, I will lower that goal and be happy to walk away with $100. And it all depends on you. If it's $20 or $50 or whatever you can, whatever you want to make your goal.
Yeah. And I still get, scared out of trades. I got shaken out of Twitter today, which I was kind of annoyed about when I look back at it. But, if I'd have been, more invested in it, had more money in it, I probably would have gotten shaken out sooner. So, that's just me. And like I said, everybody has their own style, their own level of risk that they're willing to tolerate. And, Yeah. I don't have to come in here and make $10,000 a day. I really don't have anything to prove. And like I said, if I tried to make $10,000 a day, I think I'd probably end up losing money. So
I agree.
Yeah. So let's move on, and we can talk about. There was a question here. Oops, moved this.
You got a swing trading question there, it looks like.
Yeah, I know. I was going to go back to it. Okay, so I've got it here now. Yeah, just finished your book, How to Swing Trade. It's on Amazon. And how do I determine how long to hold a swing trade? And if you're getting my emails, again, I'll make the same comment on because people are saying, "Oh, great trade, but wish I've seen it sooner." But I mean, the ultimate goal is, and when I try to outline in my videos when I'm doing these YouTube videos, I'm trying to give people a heads up. This is what I'm watching. For example, on the weekend, I highlighted the fact that the pharma and the bio companies were probably way oversold, due for a bounce, and I'd definitely be watching for that. So, and that's what happened today. So, how do I establish where I'm going to get in? I was just telling Norm this morning, or just a few minutes before we got on, the Labu trade. I wish it actually taken yesterday, because it really gave a reverse signal yesterday. But I had took it today on the breakout. But my targets are usually based on. I do the same process where we do in day trading. I look at the risk to reward. I look where levels where it's going to fail. If it drops below that level, for example, with a long trade, and then I look where it's gonna see resistance. And the first point of resistance I saw in Labu was the 52, essentially the 52.50 level, and that was based on some prior levels of support, I believe, if I can remember correctly. So that was where I set my first target. I said, okay, I'm going to take some off there if it gets to 52.50. And I actually didn't really expect it to get there today, so I was kind of surprised that swing trade really just turned into a day trade, or at least part of it did anyway. So I'm still long, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But my exits are always based on prior levels of resistance or support, or moving averages, or some logical level, and my stops are also based on some logical level as well.
Your Labu trade turned out beautiful today. That was a quick way to hit your first target on that, for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was crazy. I didn't really expect it to do that, but yeah, that's. How long have I done day trading? I day traded during the .com era, which was at the
late 90s.
90s, yeah. So I did some day trading there, and as I've told many people in the past, I made a lot of money, and of course it's easy to make money when the markets are going up. But then I pretty much gave it all back. So I broke even at the end, but there were a lot of people that lost their houses. The usual stories about how people get over enthusiastic, but I consider myself lucky in retrospect. I really didn't have the education at that time. I was kind of shooting in the dark to a large degree.
Sure.
So good, Rhonda. Thanks. You're getting my audiobook. Good. How do you decipher a pullback? You want to do this, Anthony? How do you decipher a pullback within a trend from a reversal? Well, that is a good question.
It's the age-old question.
Yeah, it's the age-old question. Usually a reversal, and if you're in the day trading room, or if you've read our books, and if you follow some of my trades in the day trading room, or even in the swing trading, it's I always look for reversal. Always tends to have a double bottom or a double top. Doesn't always. That's one way you can tell a reversal from a flag. The other way you can do it is if something flags too long, like let's just say a stock's going up to 50 and it hits the $50 resistance, and it kind of pulls back and then tries to go up and just chops along under 50. I mean, I would tend to get nervous if you don't get a resolution. And again, it depends on the time frame you're looking at, if you're swing trading or day trading. But I'd want to see a resolution within a couple days. If you're day trading, I'd probably want to see a resolution in what, 5 minutes, something like that. I mean, if it's stalling that out that long, then then it's 50. To me, then it's 50-50 whether it's going to continue the trend or if it's going to reverse. Norm, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, and the people that have watched my recaps from the room know that my trading, it's still day trading, but my time frames sometimes are hours, and I'm always managing that trade and thinking, if I was on the other side of this, or if I were looking to enter a trade on this, what would I be thinking? And look for the confirmation, like a new 5-minute high, new 15-minute high, those kinds of things. Volume is a big one. Even if you're short and you get a pop on something that's a pullback, is there volume associated with it, or was this just one random move? That's always what I'm thinking as far as that goes. And you're never going to be right all the time.
No.
But I try to put myself in the position of somebody else either looking for the trade or trading the other way and see what they think in that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, like Norm says, that's the age-old question. How do you tell? And that's sort of a couple ways you can look at it. So you understand the strategies and the concepts, have a problem predicting the next move of the market properly. Well, I mean, both myself and Andrew have written books. They're on Amazon. Andrew's is Day Trading for a Living. Mine is How to Swing Trade. I mean, in those books we both talk about setups, and sometimes the swing trading setups are pretty similar to the day trading setups. I mean, double bottoms are you see them in both, but they're just in different time frames. So if you're having trouble understanding all the strategies, I'd check out those books. I think we've got some other books that we recommend on the trading website. Norm, I believe there's
there are a number of from psychology to there's all kinds of stuff along those lines on the website. Abiel or one of the other mods, throw up a link to that page in the chat there.
Yeah, but I both Andrew's book and my book are both pretty. They start from the basics. We look at this different strategies on both, whether you're trying to day trade or you're trying to swing trade. So that would be as good a place to start as any. But you just keep doing research, keep go on the YouTube, see how other people trade, look at their strategies, because some people use different strategies than we do. But try to settle on a couple ones that you find work for you, and just focus on them. You don't get bogged down in 100 different strategies, because eventually you're going to be getting so confused that you're not going to know. Just going to be seeing lines on a chart.
And you don't need that many. I mean, it's an analogy that I used before. A surgeon that has a 60% accuracy rate and kills 40% of his patients obviously is going to have a disastrous career. But if you can be a trader and be right 60% of the time, you're a hero. You got to get used to losing. You're not going to win all the time. And risk management and everything else that goes along with it helps fix that issue.
Okay.
So Blake asked about second, third price. No, it has not been announced yet, but I will get with Andrew and get that figured out.
Yeah, and I think there's a question about Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas is a separate trading platform, and yes, we do share it in the room in the morning. When Norm and Carlos go through their pre-market show, you can pretty much see the Trade Ideas platform there. We stream it. All right. So this is Brett. New to this, have a technical question. For some reason, when I put a stop loss order, I'm not able to sell/cover unless I remove the stop order. Well, I think, yeah. Sometimes if you're putting in a stop loss order, you're actually putting in a sell order. It's conditional, obviously. So then if you go to try to sell and you still got that stop loss order, in theory you're going to be selling twice, and you could be going short. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I do that. I mean, I do that with DOS. Sometimes I'll have a short, a short stop. I'll come back and I'll see a place where I want to cover, and I'll cover, and I'll go back and close the stop loss later, or after a couple seconds later. I think it probably, I don't know if the simulator allows you to do that, Norm. I'm not familiar.
As far as canceling if you place a stop, first of all, if make sure it's a stop. We use stop markets when it's a hard stop because you want to get out of it. If it's something that's moving fast and it blows through the limit on that, then it won't fill. But then I don't quite. You do have to cancel the order, because otherwise you'll essentially flip your position if it either doesn't fill and you leave that sitting there, and you can just do that in the open orders tab in DAS.
Yeah, because if you're long 500 and then you got a stop loss, below where it's trading, and then you decide, I want to get out, you can sell it, but then that stop loss order stays until you cancel it. So in essence, if it drops to that level, then all of a sudden you're going to be shorted.
You're going to flip.
So you've got to be a little bit careful. And if you don't have the buying power, that's one possibility. If you don't have the buying power to sell it twice, then that may prevent you from doing that. And as asking, how do you learn to use? I'm guessing that's TradeStation. My thought on that, I don't know that much about TradeStation, but if you go to YouTube and Google how to use TradeStation, there's lots of videos on all the platforms. So you can go there and probably learn some stuff right off the top. Norm?
Yeah, I've never used TradeStation, so I sorry, but I can't answer that one. But I would go with Brian's suggestion.
Yeah, if you're still wanting to learn more about DOS, there's tons of there's lots of YouTube videos on doing specific things in DOS. I'm sure that there's lots of other videos that people have posted about how to use TradeStation and what other platform you're using. Okay, I'm looking to join the team, but I work during market hours. Is there a way to utilize being part of the group on my own time? Well, I guess the one thing about being on the West Coast, and I was able to day trade because the market opens at 6:30, and I can day trade for an hour and then have breakfast. And when I had a corporate job, I could just go off to work, and my day would continue. But if that's if you're back east, you're probably either has to be at a desk or or out on the shop floor or wherever you're working at 9:30 in the morning. So maybe day trading is a little bit more challenging for you. I'm not sure how you could possibly day trade if you're, unless you can sit at your desk and pretend to work and trade for half an hour.
Yeah, I worked at a desk. I had multiple monitors. I always had, whether I was trading or not, I always had a small, screen of charts, the SPY or whatever going on. Even though I was working on other stuff, every once in a while I'd see news come out, or at lunchtime or on a conference call that I was listening to and trade a little bit. But it's difficult if it's taking up your whole day. You have to have the right tools and the right systems to do everything. So that is tough.
Yeah, and to be honest, my most profitable part of the day, the day I like to trade, the time I like to trade is right at the market open. So literally I could day trade within an hour. I'd be up at 6, do the pre-market, and check Norm and Carlos' show out, and then day trade for a half an hour, and then I can be done for the day. So if that's an option for you, then you only need an hour, and that first half hour of the trading day is usually one of the best times to trade in my mind. But if the other thing that we do offer, I mean, all the classes are recorded. They're all online if you want to take them. A lot of stuff is on. We put on YouTube's after, like the trade reviews and stuff like that. So I mean, you can be part of the community, and you can see all the videos, all the training videos, and all the rest of that as well. So you can do that on your own time as well. All right. So when day trading with a 5-minute chart, what's the best signal to figure out when you should take profits? It's a pretty broad question.
I'll kick it off.
Okay.
So, when I get into a trade, I'm trying to figure out a risk to reward prior to even getting in the trade. And I want to look at a target of what I think it can get to that's realistic. I mean, if something is, I'm just going to take a hypothetical of something that's down 10%. Let's say it, just for easy numbers, went from 100 to 90, gap down there, and I think it might bounce. Now, given I'm not advocating, taking something against something, that I'm just using an example here. That $10 move to get back to a target isn't a good example if something happens to reverse. But if you can find some other daily levels like Carlos and I come up with in the pre-market show, or moving averages. So I want to have a 2-to-1 to my target for my first partial, and that's what I'll use. So that's taking profits to me is using those targets. Now, something that's running, I might leave money on the table after it hits my targets. I partial out, leave a little bit to see if it'll keep going, and it just keeps going, and finally I'm like, okay, I'll take the rest of this little piece, maybe 15-10% that I have left off. You might never know when it's going to come back, but once again, I look for reversals, and I put myself in the mindset of somebody that's either looking to enter the trade, or somebody in the trade against me, and look for confirmations of a new 5-minute low or increased volume to the downside and such. So that's what works for me.
Yeah, I think that no matter what time frame you're trading against, whether it's a 2-minute chart or a 5-minute chart, you've got to look at where is it gonna stall out, where is it gonna pull back, and that's one of the things that Norm and Carlos do in the morning. They go through, you should watch them in the morning, because they do go through all the charts, and they identify prior levels of resistance and support, and it's amazing how everybody looks at those, or a lot of the professional traders and pros look at those, and they're all trading off those levels, so they are pretty predictable. So like I said, whether you're trading a 5-minute chart, 2-minute chart, 1-minute chart, 15-minute chart, those levels you usually get honored. So and maybe that's where you take partials. Maybe you take a partial, and then you try to hold on for a higher and move your stop up. Okay, so the videos are in the Education Center. Question would be, how do I find a setup with almost mechanical rules? I'm not really sure with what that almost mechanical rules means. Almost mechanical rules. Well, I mean, patterns are typically pretty technical setups. So I mean, if you're looking at a double bottom, for example, that's a pretty mechanical process. The other one that really like to trade at the open is gap ups. They'll typically right at the market open, they'll typically pull back a bit, where a few people who are in the trade from yesterday or whenever, they'll sell. like I tried to nail Twitter this morning because it was gapping up, and I put in an order at I can't remember what number it was, but
Yeah,
it was
you didn't
something.
get filled, did you?
Yeah, it was something 77.
It always
It was-
is for you.
Yeah, because it was right close to the VWAP, and I kind of felt okay. It's gonna pull back. It's probably gonna pull back the VWAP, and I think I missed it by about 7 cents. Didn't get a fill. But then, of course, it jumped back up and took off. And in the reverse, if stocks are gapping down, quite often you'll see a pop back to the VWAP before they turn around and start to head lower again. And so that's another sort of mechanical process you go through. You just look for that initial pattern, that initial setup. How do you find them? I mean, these are patterns that I look for and that I trade for. So those are two of my favorites, and they're just my favorites. I mean, Norm may look for different patterns because there's more than one strategy to play an open.
Yeah, I mean, we all trade a little bit differently. I mean, Brian being the exception, all the other moderators in the room all started, as members and learning from Andrew and develop our own little tweaks on the style that we trade for what works for us. And it's hard to say. Trading is really, at least in my mind, like part art, part science. And you have to be able to meld the two together, because if you could just say every time this happens and this happens, well, first of all, just write an algo and do that. But if you're going to be a discretionary trader, then you have to have some idea of what's going to happen and can't make it just completely mechanical in my head. But yeah, I mean, I have 3-4 setups I truly watch all the time that work for me, like Brian was saying, and but it's not all mechanical for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes those patterns don't work out. Sometimes, there's been the occasion where something will gap down, pop up to the VWAP, maybe pull back a little bit, and then start going higher. Sometimes double bottoms don't turn into double bottoms, and sometimes they end up failing and going lower. So, we look for those setups. They're not always 100%. Nothing ever is. But the important thing is, you've got a risk to reward. When you get into a trade, the most important thing is knowing where you would get out if your thesis is wrong.
Yep.
And that way you don't you don't blow up your account. Okay, well, I find myself panicking, getting out of trade way too early. I think if you polled all the traders in the world, I think that would be one of the top.
We've
complaints.
all been there.
Yeah, that would be one of the top complaints. So believe me, you're not alone. And then you get the FOMO, which stands for the fear of missing out, because you've gotten out too early. Then you get back in, and then the run is kind of done at that point, and then you end up a winning trade. A small winning trade turns into a either flat or losing trade. I would say, there's a couple strategies. One is making sure your position isn't too large, so that you're not, that we already talked about. Feeling anxiety if you feel like you have too much money at risk. Number one. Number two, find a place to partial out. Take some profits, but don't exit your entire position. And that's probably one of the best ways, because I always say that selling a stock, you rarely feel like a winner, because you're either selling and then you sit there and you watch it go higher, or you're selling on the way down and you're annoyed that you missed the top. Very rarely do you ever find and hit the top. So you've got to acknowledge that you're going to probably feel that way a lot of the times, but partialing out is one way to put some money in the bank and hold on for more gains. And that's what I try to do. And Andrew does that as well, and I think we all do. We all take partials on the way up, move our stop up, and hang on for higher levels. And again, knowing where your levels are that you're hoping to get to. Norm, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the number one, I mean, that happens to all of us, so just know that. And then I would say small share size. Get used to being uncomfortable in a trade, but sticking to your stop, having a plan when you go into it. Like I said earlier, when you find your target, find your stop if you're going to take that trade, and choose a size with that stop that's not going to put you in a nervous situation. If you're only going to lose $5, maybe that's not that much, and it won't worry you so much, and just build upon that. I mean, that's what I did. So that would be my advice.
Okay, I think there's a question here for you from Ann.
So this was from earlier about range orders. So a range order, hypothetically, if I'm long, it's a conditional order. Let's say I buy something. Let's say I bought Apple today at 204, and I think it's going to go to 206, and my stop is at 203. So I've got $2 above, $1 below. It fits my criteria. I've got to leave the house. I can put an order in where I will sell if it hits 206 and I will take my profit, or it will trigger a stop order if it hits 203 and cancel. And if one fires, the other one will cancel. So that's a range order.
Yeah, or it's also some trading platforms will call it a conditional order. So if one
cancels other,
one cancels another. Yeah, so one part of the trade gets filled, the other get canceled. So
you just put in brackets around a price, and if it hits one, good or bad, your orders, it fills one way or the other and cancels it out.
Yeah, and that's actually almost a better than a trailing stop. If you've got a pretty clearly identified price target in where you're going to have some resistance, you set your exit price there. And then you put your stop in, where you're going to break even, or maybe you're going to make some money, but maybe not as much as you'd hope if you get it to that target. Just walk away and do whatever, have breakfast, or walk the dog or whatever.
I'll tell you too. Over time, I was able to develop a certain amount of patience I didn't have earlier in my trading career. And using stops and just walking away from my computer and not thinking about it, or a range order, really helped that. Just to know that, it was going to fire, it was going to do its thing one way or the other. I didn't have to sit there, stress about it, sweat over it. I could walk out, take my dog for a walk or anything like that. And having that happen and not have to think about it helped me. So it was an exercise, and I wouldn't recommend doing it with any big position size, because then you'll just be nervous outside your house with your dog. But
yeah, and he'll sense it and attack you. Okay, what's the difference between DOS, Trader, TD, Thinkorswim? Looking to practice, prefer to use a free account. I really don't know that much about TradeView or TD America, the Thinkorswim. I've seen ads on the Thinkorswim. I think I've even watched a video on it. It looks pretty good, and there's there's no reason you can't you can't use, for example, Thinkorswim to practice your day trading, as far as I know.
I used to use Thinkorswim. It's a good platform. It's got a lot of info. I mean, DOS Trader is kind of a bare bones but very fast configurable way to trade. That's why we use it.
Yeah, I think you can practice on, but I don't know how you can. DOS has the simulator, so you don't necessarily have to trade. I mean, you can paper trade.
Thinkorswim has paper trading options.
Oh, they do. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a try. See how it goes for you.
Yeah, you don't have to. invest $150 a month to to try out a simulator in DOS.
How long did it take me to find my edge? I wish I knew the answer to that. It would have happened a lot faster. I think trading and starting out as full-time trader, it's difficult psychologically because it's not like anything else you do, like college or where it's 4 years and X number of hours and test after test after test, you're building your way. You get a certain amount of time into it and you look back and you're like, I learned something, I've developed here. And it's a constant process. And it's just kind of blind faith going at it. So how long? I wish I knew the answer to that because at 6 months I thought I had an edge, and now I look back and know I had no edge then. But it's constant development. It's really just a path you have to keep going on. Sample size. I mean, I trade every single day that the market's open. I take a vacation a couple of times a year. But other than that, I'm trading every day, and I probably average 5 trades. So it's a large sample size. But it's a growth. It's a journey. It's a path you go on.
Okay. We still got a lot of questions here.
Trying to.
Yeah. So let's move it along. We don't want to be, we don't want to turn this into a 2-hour affair. We had originally said we were going to try to keep it to an hour. So anyway, let's move along here. What type of framers do you typically focus on? Well, if I'm day trading, I'm looking at 2 minutes. 2-minute chart. If I'm swing trading, I'm looking at daily, and sometimes I'll also look at the weekly for trends. That's but as the day goes on, and I typically don't trade much after the first 45 minutes. So as the day goes on, you probably want to look at flipping to like a 5 and a 15-minute chart. So you're starting, you've got some history, and you're trading on that history of the first couple hours of the trading day. But in the first half hour, you don't have that. 15-minute chart isn't going to tell you anything.
Yeah. I mean, I use the 1 minute right at the open. I switch to a 2 minute, and then 2, 5, and 15 I always have up on my chart, and then I study the daily to try to determine what kind of movement it might have, but you can't really bias yourself. It's just an idea of what might happen.
Okay, so a good guitar question for you. There's no jamming today.
No jamming tonight. I'm sorry. I'll play you a little Sublime at some point in the future.
Yeah, there you go. Technical question, non-U.S. citizen. Yeah, what would recommend a broker? I mean, if you can use IB, I would use IB Broker. They're pretty good. But if you're not sure, I mean, Philip, I don't know where you are, so I would, if you're in Canada, you can use IB. If you're somewhere else, I would just Google it and see if you can come up with something. To use a mental stop loss, or generally speaking, we're using mental stop losses for day trading. Sometimes I'll use a stop loss when I'm swing trading. But the other time I'll use a stop loss in day trading is if I actually am going to step away and I'm in a trade, and I want to stay in the trade.
There's 2 times I use a hard stop, or as you say, input a stop loss. That's if I'm going to walk away from my computer, or if I have some distance in a trade that's going in my favor, and I want to put it on another screen and look for another setup and trade something else. It's the only 2 times I ever do that, and I don't always do it on the second one.
Is ABC going back up? I don't know. What is ABC? Is that a stock? I can't.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look.
Yeah.
Go to the next question. I'll look up what ABC is.
Yeah.
Or is that an ABCD?
I don't know. Norm, do you day trade for a living? How do you deal with staying at home, finances? Oh, Norm's independently wealthy. He doesn't have to worry.
I wish. My dogs. No, I have a very supporting and amazing wife that knows that I love to trade and has been extremely helpful and supportive and let me take on this passion. I also have a 2-year-old son, so it gives me the ability. I used to have a 30-minute drive in the morning and about an hour and a half on the way home that I get to come pick up my son and see him a lot more. So it's been an awesome trade-off, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah. I'm currently going through a drawdown, and my previous strategy does not work. How do you deal with this situation? Well, basically, go back to figuring out why your strategy isn't working. Maybe it's a strategy that's just, you need to look at different strategies. I don't know what strategy or strategies you're using, but look at different strategies. And also, if you're going through a drawdown, people typically will stop trading for a while, go back to simulator, and then figure out figure out how you can make things work for you, but don't just keep doing the same thing, because this is like Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is a definition of insanity. So and I'm assuming you're not insane.
No, I mean, and I'd say the same thing. And somebody that's a newer trader than Brian, I've encountered this plenty over the last year. You have a slump, you have a bad week, you have a bad month, whatever it may be. If you can't seem to find your way out of it, maybe take a break for a couple of days. It's one thing I've done that's helped. Lower whatever my goal is. Just try to have some small green day, walk away and be happy with it. Go back to simulator if you can't seem to shake it. Decrease your share size and work back up.
Yeah. Okay, so I've noticed that the minute I enter a trade, it goes against me. Do you think I'm focusing too much on the 1 minute? You could be. It depends what time of the day you're trading at, and also if you're chasing trades as opposed to waiting for pullbacks or waiting for entries. You're probably chasing trades, is what I'm guessing. It's not to say that even on a pullback you could enter a trade and it could pull back a little bit more, but because you never are going to, when you're entering a trade, you may never actually hit it right at the bottom if you're going long, or you may never actually hit it right at the top. You have to be prepared to to know where your stop is. If you're taking a double bottom, and it's starting to turn on that second bottom and go up, know where your stop is and know that it might actually dip back again. So,
and I'd say too, look and see, like, if you're taking something long and you get into a trade, you put a stop on it. Is it hitting that stop and then going your direction? Is your stop too tight, or are you taking too big of a size? And that's why you feel like it's going against you. So that's another thought too that I've encountered. Commissions on small account on too high, small account on CMAG. I've not used CMAG. I know their commissions. Yeah, it's less expensive with IB, but unless you can avoid the PDT rule, I don't have an answer there. Any thoughts on that, Brian?
I don't know anything about that one. Sorry. What hours do you trade and avoid? As I said, everybody's different. I mean, some people sit in the room all day and trade, and they'll change their they'll change their time frames on their charts and stuff like that. I just find that I can make a few good trades in the morning. First half hour is sort of my golden those golden minutes, and then after that, I can sit here and trade for another hour and I can give it all back. And I know that from experience and journaling. So if you're in the room in the morning, you see I don't usually take a lot of trades after, say, 7:15 my time, which would be 45 minutes into the trading session. But some people make a living trading all day, and I mean, today you could have stuck with a couple stocks and killed it. But not every day is like today.
No.
Tomorrow I expect we're going to open maybe up a little bit, but I think we'll be pretty choppy until market figures out where it wants to go, because we had a big update today. Okay, so Norm, I see from your videos that you trade high cap stocks a lot. You're talking about Apple and
Nvidia, Apple, Facebook. I mean, my trade size. First of all, let me say that a lot of times we don't mention position size because my position size and my risk tolerance and everything is completely different than somebody else. It's quality of trade we're trying to think of. Usually, I can take anywhere from 150 to 1,500 shares on something. It just depends on, what I see as the setup and how far of a stop I have to give it. So it's all over the board on that.
Yeah, when I enter a swing trade, do you ever find yourself kind of day trade your way into it? I mean, I have done that, and I've done that in the room where I've said I'm going long. I think the latest one I did that with was maybe Nugget.
Yep.
I took it long, and I said, it's going. It did go higher, and I sold a bit of it and just held on to the rest of it and swing traded it. But yeah, and the Labu entry today, I mean, that was clearly starting to break out. So I mean, I didn't intend it to turn into a day trade, but it hit that first target where I thought I'd see resistance. So that was sort of honoring my trading plan. So I did take some off there. So yeah, I mean it's always a little bit tricky about when you're taking a swing trade, where to get into it. A lot of people, a lot of swing traders will wait till the end of the day, that sort of last half hour, to decide whether they're going to swing a position. And other times you just have to watch. You build a watch list and you just watch the stocks that are on your watch list and just see what's moving and what isn't. The other thing you can do that I've done is a lot of your platforms will have these trade alerts. So you'll get a text message or you'll get an email or whatever, and that's another way to kind of if you're looking for something that's breaking out and you can see at say $50.25, you want to get a notification that whatever stock is breaking out. You can you can go about your day and you get the text saying maybe you want to take an entry here. The other thing that you can do is you can actually set a stop order to buy too. Stop loss orders. Stops aren't the you can have a stop buy order. That's the other option if you're looking to get into a long position. People tend to think that you can stops are only for losses, but they're also for getting into trades too. Not as commonly used, but it's an option.
Okay, next one.
Do you think high frequency trading?
I mean,
I don't think so.
No, I don't either. I think that's a big boogeyman in the trading world, that there have been excuses around for it for a long time, from just the history of trading and everything I've read over the years. There's always something out there like that.
Why do I prefer swing trading rather than day trading? I don't know where you got that impression. I don't have a preference for either. I mean, this swing trading. I think if you're a day trader, you can also be a good swing trader. I think if you can master swing trading, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good day trader. They're just two different styles. I mean, with day trading, it's a little bit more higher pressure. You've got to make snap decisions. Stocks are moving, like for example, Twitter at the open, it just took off. Do you just watch it, or do you just jump in there and you got to make that decision like now. Swing trading, you don't have to do that. So I don't have a preference for one or the other. I do both, and a lot of other people do both. But then there's just some people that for their lifestyle, they're working, they can't day trade. Swing trading works for them. Maybe they don't like to make snap decisions. They're just not that type of a person. Swing trading is going to work better for them. So, and some people just prefer to day trade. They just want to, they see that there's, holding stocks over an evening. There's always a risk. There's definitely a risk. And that's why you see me trading a lot of ETFs. Because it tends to take a lot of the risk out of an individual stock name. Norm and Brian, what's your favorite Andrew Aziz quote?
Piece of garbage. It has to be everybody's, right? What's yours?
I get it's something like that. Anyway, do you trade high-priced stocks quite often right now? You manage a wider bid.
I'll say on those, like Apple, usually it's a 1 or 2 cent spread, which is absolutely nothing for something that's $200. Facebook, Nvidia's a higher spread, but you got to think of it in terms of percentages. Something that's 10 cents, a 10-cent spread on a $200 stock. Figure out the percentage of that to a Micron or a AMD that's $25, and it's essentially the same thing. So, no, I usually use marketable limit orders and hotkeys. I don't even think about the spread on those. Like, what was it, MDSO yesterday? That was how much was that? $70, $80, and it was a 50-point spread, and it kept me out of the stock. So, but the Apple, Facebook, Nvidia, that's why I trade those, because they have no spread and they're higher priced.
Okay, I guess I just jump in here and just say, we're going to have to end this at some point. So we're going to try to get to all the questions today. But if if people can stop posting questions now. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is, I think this has actually been quite productive, and I'm hoping people are finding it useful tonight. So this will not be the last opportunity to have to jump on. So don't, if we didn't get to your question, we apologize, but we will be doing this again. And
you'll have other moderators too. We'll cycle through it. It won't just be Brian and I. Andrew will be involved. Brian will be involved, and Carlos, Peter, everybody else.
Yeah. So after finding stocks in play, is level 2 and you use level 2 in decision making? A little bit. Go ahead, Norm.
I use it quite a bit. I watch level 2 a lot. I watch time and sales because I want to see, especially time and sales and how things jump. If I'm looking to go long in something and I see a pullback, do I see a spike in orders that pops it back up? Of course, we talk about different uses of level 2. That's one that I specifically watch for. So I watch it quite a bit.
Yeah, the other thing you can do is, if you see very large bids or asks off, not in the money, but away from the money where it's currently trading, usually, not always, but usually the stock price will move to those large bids because there's somebody there who's sitting there with a large position, and they're expecting it to move there. Now it's a little counterintuitive. People think, oh, there's a huge bid at $3. It's never going to get there because there's a massive bid. But that's quite often not the case. You'll actually see it get to 3 and then move through there if 3 is where the large bid is. So yeah. So I mean, I tend to focus more on the price action, but if you're looking for a level where you're thinking maybe the stock's going to move to, you can always look at the level 2 and see if there's any large bids or asks away from the money where it's currently trading. Norm, how many times did you feel like giving up in trading? Be honest.
I'll be honest here. So since May 3rd of last year, when I first started trading full time, I knew that I would not give up on it until I just absolutely had any other choice. So I was determined to make this what I could make out of it. That having been said, there's been plenty of times I've gotten up at 1 a.m. thinking, what in the world am I doing? It's a very difficult thing to do.
Okay, so I've seen Andrew and others in trading first couple minutes. They're mentioning the stock is weak. There are the signals being seen before the first 5-minute candle? Well, typically when you're just trading at the open, I'm looking at 2-minute candles, and I'm just looking at the price action. I'm looking at the price action pre-market as well. Particularly on a stock that may be quite active in the pre-market. If it's selling off, then it's looking weak. If it's if it's surging into the open in the pre-market, it's obviously strong. But yeah, we're not looking at 5-minute candles. I know Andrew sometimes says he doesn't want to trade in the first 5 minutes. But that's not to say he's looking for that first 5-minute candle. For practice reasons, does DOS Pro offer an on-demand feature which allows simulated trades based on data from prior day? No, I don't think so.
No, tradingsim.com. Like a couple of the guys that I know use tradingsim.com, and you can use historical data.
Have you ever tried using TradeBots? Personally, I have not, but I know Trade Ideas does have one. Yeah,
they have an AI feature, but I haven't used it.
Yeah. What is the charge for DOS service provided by IB? Well, DOS and IB are two different things. IB Brokers is a brokerage company. They actually trade on the stock exchange, and DOS is a trading platform that you can connect to your IB account. So you pay for the DOS service, and it's usually, I think it's $150 a month, Norm.
Yeah, there's different packages from like 100 or 125 up to 200. Most of us have the $150 deluxe package that usually comes with options level 2. You can swap it out for ArcaBook if you're not going to trade options, or if you're a BBT member, there's a special package that does that automatically. So it's $150 for what the vast majority of us use.
Yeah. I notice traders around the world really adhere to moving averages. Yeah, that moving averages, you can actually, when you look at stocks, I mean, you can go back and look at some of the stocks today. You can put 9s and 20s and 50s and 200s up, and you can see how the price action, will honor some of those moving averages. They'll on the pullbacks, they'll stop right at one of the moving averages. So yeah, definitely moving averages are. And they are used to keep people in trades too. I mean, if you're like, for example, if you're in Twitter and you use a 9 moving average as your stop, then you can and it keeps bouncing off that, you can stay in the trade. As soon as it drops below the 9, you can get out. That's 1, 9 or 20, whatever you want to use. Okay, I follow swing trades and amaze me. Would like to learn more. Do you think the Labu is going to get rejected at the target price you mentioned, and LabD will continue up? Well, that's a $100,000 question right there. I think Labu's got a little bit more in it, personally, and that's why I didn't take it all off when I got to the first target I mentioned in the email. Having said that, if it does roll over tomorrow, I'll be getting out of it. But I'll see. I'm just going to have to. It's one of those things you're just going to have to watch and see if my next level is 55, I believe. All right. So, yeah. How long have you been trading, Norm?
I've been trading off and on swing trading and day trading on a hobby basis for 15-ish years, 15, 18 years. Full-time a year, next week.
And yeah, there's a difference between predicting and just watching, price action, and you don't try to predict anything in the market, because all you can do really is look at the price action and look at the risk reward and make a speculation of which direction your trade is gonna go. And it's all about, managing your risk and managing your reward. Norm, do you partial because you are using lower time frames?
I mean, most of us partial. Just to lock in profits. You never know for sure. I would say, even Brian swing trading, he takes partials.
Yep.
So, just part of the practice.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with time frames. It's got to do with
you can't predict tops and bottoms. So
no, but you can predict where there'll be levels of resistance, and and that's why I picked a Labu 5250. I thought was going to, and it actually did get rejected. That's kind of, I think at 5260 was the high, and that's kind of where I thought it might get to, and then pull back. So You guys are day trading for a living, so it's your business. You incorporate this. This is really a tax, sort of a tax question. Really, I mean, it depends if you're in the U.S. or Canada or wherever you are in the world. You can incorporate as a day trader. I guess you can create a business.
There's a whole lot of different. Check out
Yeah.
green. If you're in the United States, greentradertax.com. You're welcome to email me. I'm not a CPA or a tax attorney, but I can just tell you my experience with taxes and maybe point you to somebody that can give you actual advice on it. Norm at bearbultraders.com.
Yeah, sorry. There is a trailing stop that you can use. Yeah, okay, so that was a question about it for Abel. What are the setups you like to trade? Well, obviously I like to trade double bottoms. Those are one of my favorites, and then we discussed the other gap up, pull back to VWAP, or bounce up to VWAP. Those are my favorites. Norm, you got any other trades you like to, other setups you like to trade?
I mean, I trade a lot of reversals. I trade a lot of double bottoms like you do, and your double bottom definition and mine is slightly different a lot of times. I love to play bounces. Like today, I took a trade on Nvidia and Facebook. It sold off at the open. It had gapped up a little bit, sold off, and I'm trading off the daily a lot. So.
Yeah, this is a good question. What ratio of max loss to daily profit do you guys use? Yeah, you know what? It's I just have a a specific level in that I will not lose. I'll stop trading if I lose more than $500. If I'm down more than $500, I just basically push the chair away and I'm done. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And and I try to make $500 to $1,000 each day. That's kind of my goal.
I'm pretty much in the same boat as that. I used to have specific goals, and I've gotten away from those.
Yeah. Norm, you normally take bigger stocks. What is your average stop? Really? Go ahead.
I've lost where we were exactly. So you'll have to. How far away is my average stop?
It says you normally trade the bigger stocks. What's your average stop? 50 cents or $1?
It's all over the place. Sometimes those quick moves first thing in the morning. A lot of times it's 50 cents, 75 cents away. If I want to take something that I think is going to reverse and might run all day, it could be bigger than that. But I want the most important thing is a 2-to-1 risk to reward that I'm trying to go for before my first partial.
Yeah. What do we wish you knew before we first started trading? I would say probably the risk reward principle, because I really didn't when I was started out day trading, I really didn't have a good idea of risk and reward, and and that's you can get away with with not being disciplined in a really a bull market that's running like crazy, but you're going to get eaten alive if you don't have a good risk to reward strategy.
I would say a good bartender.
Yeah, good tequila.
No, but risk to reward, that's the answer, because you don't think of that as a retail investor that's not in this game. Most people that haven't studied it don't ever think about risk to reward, and that's the number one. You can have a less than 50-50 win ratio, and if you have good risk to reward, you can still be profitable. So that's the most important thing, I believe.
Okay, so ABC was actually ACB weed, the stock price. I'm not really sure where that's going. I mean, the stock, CGC's been good, but some of the other ones haven't been so hot. So, what books do we recommend for trading, investing in general? Well, again, we talked about that. There's a link there to our website where we got some books. You've got my book on Amazon, How to Swing Trade, and you got a bunch of Andrews plus some other ones that are recommended. Some days are good setups and it's time for the trading. Yeah, exactly. Carlos, you just, some days are going to be better than others. Just recognize that sometimes no trade is better than a trade. Don't force things. We keep saying that in the room. Do you recommend a position right from the bell? Again, I would say no. I don't usually take a position unless I really say an obvious, like Twitter this morning really was looking like it was obviously going to break out, and I just bit the bullet and went long on it. But you may have days where things will just be choppy.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
A lot of times if I do that right at the bell, I'll take a very small size, give it a wide stop if I think it can run a long way based on a daily.
I think the questions on level 2, I think we already answered.
Yep.
Thoughts on trading earnings pre-market and post-market? Typically, yeah, just too illiquid. Generally speaking, none of us trade pre-market or post-market. Just too much illiquidity and too easy to get shaken out. Is the best strategy to avoid or reduce fin? No, I don't think so.
It's a cost of doing business. I mean, find the best broker you can with the lowest fees that fits your profile and go with them, and it's just a cost of doing business.
Well, Vlad, if you want to swing trade, I would say, just start doing some paper trading, and if it's working for you, then start with small size, 100 shares. Exactly. Santa made the same comment. All right. Is there any sort of free trial where I can see morning live stream a few times before purchasing?
I think Ryan took care of that.
Okay, good. Norm, can you describe the evolution of your current trading style versus a few months of trading? Anything different now, Norm, than you're doing?
I evolved. If you've watched Andrew's recaps, he trades a lot of MU and AMD. My MU and AMD is Apple, Facebook, and Nvidia. I just over time I've messed with a bunch of stuff, and it tweaked it to what fits my personality. I still trade those sometimes. I trade a little bit longer. My time frame lasts a little bit longer than Andrew's, but he's a magician in what he can do in 10 minutes. So,
yeah. So here says, Danny, got no money right now. Is there a way I can practice day trading for free? I would say I don't think you need money to open an account. I think you can open an account with a broker and tell them you're going to send money, and you should have access to their platform.
Paper trading account, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can use something like a Thinkorswim or TradeStation or something, and just start practicing with their, with their platform. I'm not sure how long they let you do that, but that's an option. I think we've kind of come to the end. The stock operators asked us what's a good risk to reward? Well, if you read just about anybody's book, including Andrews or myself, we talk a lot about risk to reward. So fundamentally, when you're taking a trade, you enter the trade, where your stop is. Let's just say it's 50 cents below where you entered. You should be able to identify a place where there's going to be resistance, and it should be at least 2 times what you're risking. So in other words, you're risking 50 cents, you're going to get stopped out, and you're going to hopefully make at least $1. And some people use 2 to 1. So in other words, you're getting you're risking 1, but you're getting 2. Some people even say you should have 3 to 1. But 2 to 1's a good start, and then you hold on, and you partial out at 2 to 1, and maybe you hold for higher. So, but anyway, without going into a lot more detail, there's lots of stuff that's written on risk to reward, and it's pretty fundamental for all day traders and swing traders as well.
I think, I mean, we're getting a couple of new questions, but I think we've overshot
Yeah.
our time limit by about 33% here. So we've reached our risk reward for tonight. And like Brian mentioned, we're gonna do this more often. Stay tuned. We'll have other moderators that cycle in.
I'll ask her. I'll answer one more question. Ken asked me. Sometimes I jump into a trade in the first 1 minute. Like for example, this morning on Twitter. Some of it's just experience. I mean, I knew that Twitter had good earnings, and I knew it was going to be strong. It was gonna open. It was opening strong. It was probably going to do a little bit of a pullback. That's why I tried to get in on that pullback. I missed it by 7 cents, and then I could see it just starting to break out. And the signal for me was, you've got the high of the pre-market, or you've got the high of the when it just opened, and as soon as the stock starts moving above that, that's called an opening range breakout. And I knew it was going to be strong right from out the gate. So that's when I just had to bite the bullet and just take it long. So it would have been ideal if I'd have got that fill at the pullback, but sometimes it doesn't work out, and you just gotta jump in. But then again, that's swing trading, or that's day trading. I mean, you've got to be able to make those snap decisions when you feel confident. So. All right. Other than that, that's the only sort of trade I would probably take in the first couple minutes. Just a real obvious opening range breakout or breakdown for that matter. So, guys, thanks. Just to wrap it up here. Just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We all hope that that this was educational experience for everybody, learning experience. Did we have some? We had some promotional thing too, didn't we, Norm?
Yeah, there's. It's been posted in the chat. Ryan's sent it out. But first of all, if you have any questions that we didn't get to, you're welcome to email me, norm@bearbulltraders.com, and I'll get back to you. If you're interested in a lifetime membership, there's a promo code 20% off YTAMA20. That'll do that just for this Ask Me Anything 20% discount code on that. We also still, of course, have the 2-week trial if you want to come check it out if you haven't been a part of the room. So anyway, I thank you guys all for joining us. We'll do it again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Andrea, I mean, if you're in Canada, you can use IB Broker. I would say that's probably the best broker for day trading in Canada, but not to say you can't use another broker, but I would say IB is the one you want to do. Yeah, and Ryan pointed out another good point too. If you just want to email us at team@bearbulltraders.com, we'll answer that as well. Yep. And there's your discount code if you want to sign up with us. So have a great night, everybody. Norm.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're going to sign off right now. Have a great evening, y'all. Trade safe.
Okay, have a great evening. Well, if you're joining us in the morning,